In the 1960s, he was the charming star of Hogan's Heroes, a beloved actor with a perfect, family-friendly image. But that image was brutally shattered when Bob Crane was discovered in his apartment, the victim of a shocking and violent end. There was no forced entry, nothing was stolen, but investigators did find a secret collection of homemade tapes that revealed a disturbing double life. So, who would want one of America's favorite TV dads gone? And could the killer have been the one person he trusted most? Before we expose the dark details, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. Bob Crane wasn't just a star, he was an American institution. As Colonel Robert Hogan in the wildly popular sitcom Hogan's Heroes, he beamed into millions of homes every week, playing the charismatic leader who always outsmarted his captors with a grin. His timing was flawless, his charm was effortless, and he made audiences believe in the unbelievable. The show was a cultural phenomenon, running for 6 seasons and earning Crane 2 Emmy nominations. He was the man everyone felt they knew and trusted. Before television, he was a radio kingpin, celebrated as the man of 1,000 voices. To the world, he had it all: a loving family, immense wealth, and creative control over a hit show. He was the smiling, clean-cut hero, the pinnacle of Hollywood success. But while the cameras were rolling, capturing the perfect hero, the man behind the smile was beginning to fracture, building a second life that was far from heroic. When the studio lights switched off, the smiling hero America loved was replaced by a man with a consuming secret. While Hogan's Heroes was climbing the ratings, Bob Crane was nurturing a dark obsession. It began with a passion for the latest photography and video equipment, but his subjects weren't landscapes or family portraits. Crane developed a compulsion for documenting his private encounters with women, turning his off-camera life into an endless series of recorded escapades. He built a massive library of tapes and explicit photos, often filming his partners without their consent. This wasn't just a hobby. It was an addiction that began to poison every part of his life. His first marriage disintegrated, and co-stars noticed him becoming distant and erratic. But Crane believed he had it all under control, and his secret was about to get even bigger with the help of a new friend who shared his sinister interests. That new friend was John Henry Carpenter, a charismatic video equipment salesman who had access to all the latest gadgets. He wasn't just a friend, he was an enabler. After they met in the mid-1960s, Crane's secret hobby transformed into a full-blown operation. Carpenter provided the high-tech gear and, more importantly, became an active participant. Together, they turned hotel rooms across the country into private recording studios. They were an inseparable duo, with Carpenter often helping to arrange the encounters and manage the technical setups. To the outside world, they were just two friends enjoying the bachelor life, but their bond was built on a shared dark obsession. Carpenter was the ultimate wingman, but he was also the gatekeeper to a world that was quickly consuming Bob Crane. Their partnership seemed unbreakable, but it was a toxic alliance built on secrets, and it was about to come to a violent and tragic end. On the morning of June 29, 1978, the final act of Bob Crane's life played out in a Scottsdale, Arizona apartment. When a colleague couldn't reach him for their stage play, he went to check on him, only to walk into one of Hollywood's most notorious crime scenes. Crane was discovered in his bed, the victim of a horrifically violent attack. He had been bludgeoned to death, likely in his sleep, with a force that spoke of personal rage. A twisted electrical cord was wrapped around his neck. But what truly baffled police was the pristine state of the room. There was no sign of a struggle, no forced entry, and nothing was stolen. This wasn't a random robbery. This was an execution carried out by someone Crane knew and trusted. As investigators began cataloging the evidence, they found his vast collection of cameras and tapes, realizing instantly that the motive was tied to the star's secret world. And it didn't take them long to identify the last person to see him alive. All eyes immediately turned to John Henry Carpenter. He was more than a friend. He was now the prime suspect. Investigators quickly uncovered a bombshell motive. Several of Crane's friends revealed that he had recently tried to end his toxic friendship with Carpenter. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a rejection that could have fueled a violent rage. When questioned, Carpenter admitted to being with Crane on the night of the murder, but his alibi had serious holes. He couldn't give a straight answer about when he left Crane's apartment, and his story didn't match witness accounts. Then, police found the first piece of physical evidence. Inside Carpenter's rental car, they discovered a small blood smear and biological tissue. It was suspicious, but in 1978, forensics were too primitive to link it directly to Crane. With no murder weapon and no definitive proof, police were forced to let him go. The case was stalled, but that single piece of evidence sat in a box, waiting for technology to catch up. For over a decade, the Bob Crane case grew cold, becoming just another piece of dark Hollywood folklore. John Carpenter faded back into obscurity, living a quiet life, likely believing he was in the clear. But investigators in Arizona never gave up. They were waiting for science to catch up, and in the early 1990s, it finally did. With the advent of DNA analysis, they reopened the evidence box. The small tissue sample found in Carpenter's rental car was sent for testing. The result was electrifying. While the DNA was too degraded for a perfect match, it was consistent with Bob Crane's. It was the link they had been missing for 16 years. In 1994, police arrested Carpenter, and the case exploded back into the headlines. But the trial was a nightmare for the prosecution. The DNA evidence was challenged as inconclusive. The murder weapon was still missing, and the defense argued the original crime scene was hopelessly contaminated. In the end, it wasn't enough. The jury acquitted John Carpenter, and he walked free for a second and final time. While the courts had failed, one person refused to let the case die: Bob Crane's oldest son, Robert. For him, the acquittal wasn't justice. It was a devastating failure. He launched his own decades-long investigation, digging through old police files and re-interviewing witnesses. Robert became a fierce advocate for his father, publishing a memoir that exposed a story the jury never fully heard. He didn't shy away from his father's flaws, but he also revealed a crucial, heartbreaking detail. Just before his death, Bob Crane was actively trying to change. He had decided to end his friendship with John Carpenter and escape the toxic world they had built together. This revelation reframed the entire narrative. The murder wasn't just a random act or a mysterious crime. It was a story of betrayal. It suggested Crane was killed not just for his secrets, but because he was finally trying to leave them behind for good. Ultimately, Bob Crane's legacy became the scandal that destroyed it. His talent, his Emmy nominations, and the laughter he brought to millions were all buried under the weight of his shocking death. Hollywood quietly distanced itself. Reruns of Hogan's Heroes became less frequent, and his name was spoken as a cautionary tale rather than in celebration of his work. He is remembered not as the brilliant performer, but as the man with the tapes, a symbol of private shame made public. His story serves as a chilling look at the dark side of fame, a world where a person can be universally loved yet completely isolated, battling demons that are enabled and ignored. The public was obsessed with the question of who ended his life. But the more unsettling question is why a man with so much success was so profoundly lost in the first place, and why no one saw the warning signs before it was too late. Bob Crane played the hero on screen, but off-screen, he was a man who lost a silent battle with his own compulsions. His life spiraled into a secret world that was darker and more isolating than anyone could have imagined, leading to a brutal end for which justice was never served. For decades, The public has been captivated by the mystery of who was in his apartment that night. But the real story isn't just about an unsolved crime. It's about the profound tragedy of a man who was so beloved, yet so completely lost. His case is a haunting reminder that the brightest smiles can hide the deepest struggles, and that we may never truly know the people we invite into our homes through our television screens. The courts may have closed the case, but the questions surrounding his life and death continue to expose the dark side of fame. Let us know your thoughts on this tragic story in the comments below.